Hello, dear learners. I am Dr. Shubhra Sohane, Assistant Professor, Forensic Science Department, IEHE भोपाल से आपके सामने प्रस्तुत हूँ और उच्च शिक्षा उत्कृष्टता संस्थान भोपाल के आईसीटी बेस्ड टीचिंग लर्निंग एंड इवोल्यूशन के इनिशिएटिव ज्ञान मेघ में आप सभी का स्वागत करती हूँ। This lecture will be helpful to all those students who are studying forensic science as major or elective subject at undergraduate level. In the lecture, we'll discuss about the fingerprints, definition, principle, basic concepts. So, let's start with the table of contents. Topics to be covered: learning outcomes, introduction, what is fingerprint, principle of fingerprints, how fingerprints are formed, chemical composition of perspiration, sweat, summary, link for further readings, references, and assessment. So, after watching this video lecture, you will be able to learn, define what is fingerprint, explain principle of fingerprint, understand how fingerprints are formed, describe how fingerprints can be used for personal identification and criminal investigation, explain the chemical composition of perspiration or sweat. So here is brief introduction. We touch things every day: coffee, teacup, a car door, a computer, keyboard. Each time we do, it is likely that we leave behind our unique signature in our fingerprints. Even before birth, a person's fingerprint patterns are formed for the rest of his life. The friction ridges appear before birth during third or fourth month of pregnancy. Dactylography is the study of fingerprints as a method of identification. प्रकृति ने मनुष्य की उंगलियों में ऐसी सूक्ष्म रेखाएं बनाई हैं जो कि मनुष्य के जन्म से मृत्यु पर्यंत बिना किसी अंतर के वैसे ही बनी रहती है। मनुष्य के शरीर की वृद्धि के साथ साथ ये रेखाएं बड़ी हो जाती हैं, परंतु इनकी समानता की स्थिति अर्थात प्रकृति और एक दूसरे के सापेक्ष स्थितियों मीन्स नेचर एंड रिलेटिव पोजीशन में कोई अंतर नहीं पड़ता है। अंगुली चिन्ह व्यक्ति की पहचान का महत्वपूर्ण एवं निर्णायक भौतिक साक्ष्य होता है। ऐसे कोई भी दो व्यक्ति नहीं है जिनके अंगुल चिन्ह एक समान हो। यदि किसी मामले में कोई संदिग्ध व्यक्ति गिरफ्तार किया गया है और किसी प्रकरण से संबंधित किसी साक्ष्य पर उस व्यक्ति के अंगुल चिन्ह हो, तो अंगुल चिन्हों का नमूना परीक्षण में समान पाए जाने पर उसके अपराध में लिप्त होने का ठोस सबूत माना गया है। फिंगरप्रिंट के अध्ययन अथवा फिंगरप्रिंट द्वारा पहचान को डैक्टिलोग्राफी कहा जाता है। Fingerprint analysis generally involves comparing fingerprints found at a crime scene called latent fingerprints, that is invisible prints. क्राइम सीन पे ज्यादातर जो प्रिंट्स हमको मिलते हैं वो प्रिंट्स इनविजिबल होते हैं, जिनको हम लेटर ऑन कुछ मेथड्स होती हैं उनसे हम विजिबल फॉर्म में डेवलप करते हैं। विथ फिंगरप्रिंट फॉर्म अ नोन इंडिविजुअल एंड असेसिंग हाउ सिमिलर दे आर, देन उसके बाद उसका हम नॉन इंडिविजुअल से कंपैरिजन करते हैं। टेक अ लुक एट द टिप्स ऑफ योर फिंगर्स, व्हाट डू यू सी? You could see the innumerable lines crisscrossing and making spherical shapes. These lines are commonly referred to as ridges, and the valleys formed between two ridges are known as furrows, and their patterns make a fingerprint. हमारे हाथों की हथेली और पैरों के तलवे पर पाए जाने वाले त्वचा पर विशिष्ट प्रकार की बारीक रेखाएं रिजेस पाई जाती हैं। उभरी हुई लकीरों के समान दिखाई देने वाली इन संरचनाओं को पैपिलरी रिज भी कहा जाता है। दो रिज के बीच में खाई फरो होती है। Also, did you know that identical twins have the same DNA configuration, but they do not have identical friction-rich configuration? So, no two persons have exactly the same fingerprints. The above said uniqueness allows fingerprints to be used in all sorts of ways, including for background checks, biometric security, mass disaster identification, and of course in criminal investigation. So, what is the principle of fingerprints? The principle of fingerprints is based on following four principles. First is uniqueness. The fingerprint is unique. No two individuals possess same fingerprints, including identical twins. Second is permanence. The fingerprint is permanent and unchangeable during lifetime. Third is classifiable. Fingerprint patterns can be classified into four main categories: match, loop, word, and composite. These four patterns help to classify the prints in all 10-digit fingerprint classification. Fourth is universal. Fingerprints are found on the fingers of all human beings. So, how fingerprints are formed? Skin is composed of an epidermis outer layer and the dermis layer of skin underneath the epidermis. It contains sweat glands. In between the epidermis and dermis, finger-like dermal papilla press into the epidermis, causing friction ridges and form people's fingerprints. So, fingerprints are result from epidermal ridge projecting inward and dermal papilla projecting upward. इसको हम एक डायग्राम के हेल्प से समझ सकते हैं। एपिडर्मिस एपिडर्मिस रेखाओं युक्त त्वचा की इस अपेक्षाकृत कड़ी तव परत पर केवल पसीने की ग्रंथियों के छिद्र कोष पाए जाते हैं। इसी भाग पर रिज पाए जाते हैं। देन एपिडर्मिस के नीचे डर्मिस होती है। एपिडर्मिस के नीचे पाई जाने वाली इस परत में पसीने की ग्रंथियां और तंत्रिकाओं के पोर्स पाए जाते हैं। साथ ही इस परत में पैपिलरी लेयर होती है जो विशिष्ट फिंगरप्रिंट के कारण होती है। देन पैपिला एपिडर्मिस पर दिखने वाले हर रिज के नीचे पैपिला की दो रो पाई जाती है। Now, chemical composition of perspiration, sweat. Fingerprints are made from natural secretions of the sweat glands, perspiration, sweat, that are present in the friction ridges of the skin. Within the sweat, there are a number of chemical compounds, inorganic ions, proteins, amino acids, lipids, and water. Percentage of water is 98.5%. Now, summary. Even before birth, person's fingerprint patterns are formed for the rest of his life. Second, dactylography is the study of fingerprints as a method of identification. Third, friction-rich skin. The portion of skin containing peaks and valleys arranged in a pattern and located on the palmar surfaces. Fourth, no two persons have exactly the same fingerprint. Even identical twins have different fingerprints. Fifth, the principle of fingerprint is based on following four principles: uniqueness, permanence, classifiable, and universal. Sixth, fingerprints are result from epidermal ridge projecting inward and dermal papilla projecting upward. These are the links for further reading. These are the references. Now assessment time. Question number 1. Even before birth, a person's fingerprint patterns are formed for the rest of his life. It is true or false? It is true. Question number 2. Fingerprints are not individualistic to conclusively establish the identity of a suspect's print with those found at the scene of crime. Is it true or false? It is false. Question number 3. The study of fingerprint is also known as anthropometry, dermatology, dermatoglyphics, or ergonomics. The answer is dermatoglyphics. Question number 4. Fingerprint of identical twins are found identical. It is true or false? The answer is false. Question number 5. Although genetically the same dash do not share the same fingerprints. The answer is identical twins. The identical twins never share the same fingerprints. Question number 6. Ridge structure in fingerprint is mainly determined by which of the following? Epidermis, sebum glands, dermal papilla, sweat glands? The answer is dermal papilla. Question number 7. The layer of the cells between the epidermis and dermis is called as sweat pores, dermal papilla, friction ridges, none of the above. The answer is dermal papilla. Question number 8. What is the outer layer of the skin is called as? Epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous, fatty tissue. The answer is epidermis. Thank you for the watching. Keep learning, keep growing.